So biology, right? Biology is the study of living organisms. Okay. So you have different processes that each living organism goes under. So let's start by classifying what are living organisms. When we're talking about living organisms, there is a acronym which is called Mrs. Gren. Okay, Mrs. Gren is you talk about any living organism. Does it move on its own, right? Does it have a respiration? For example, does it produce energy or does it use any form of energy in order to move or do other, basic life processes? Yeah, so that's respiration. Sensitivity, is it able to understand and, have a certain response to stimuli? Stimuli being any form of action or, something that is done to the organism. For example, you shed light on it. For example, you uh, you know move it, touch it, cause it pain. So that is called sensitivity. Growth, for example, if you have some sort of nutritional value given to the object or the organism, if it grows, if it grows in size, so that is one of the signs of a living organism. Reproduction, it produces progeny, it produces offspring. Excretion, it results in nutrition being used up and the rest of the waste material being moved out. Nutrition, for example, if you are eating something and you're getting any nutrition out of that, so that is one of the signs of living organisms. So, what are classification systems? Classification systems include species that can reproduce together to produce a fertile offspring. For example, if I have a lion and I have a tiger, they can reproduce and form a liger. So that is a viable offspring, right? Hence, a lion and a tiger belong to the same species.
Sir,
Make sense? Okay. So,
sir, could you scroll up just for a moment?
yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. You can scroll down now.
Okay. So, when you have two different animals, for example, a lion and a tiger, which can produce a viable offspring, they belong to the same species. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sequence of classification. The first thing is kingdom, then phylum, then classes, then order, then families, then genus, then species. Okay. So the acronym for this is King Philip came over for good soup. Okay. So what's the first one? King. So kingdom. Philip. So phylum. Came. Class. For. Over. Came over for good food. Yeah. So kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and sorry, soup, species. So now binomial system of naming species. The international agreed system in which organisms scientific name is comprised of two parts, namely the genus and the species. The format genus species, where genus is capitalized and the species are not. The classification of organisms helps show the evolutionary relationship between them. Scientists, you also use the DNA-based sequence help classify organisms. The similarity in DNA chains shows how closely the two organisms are related. Basically, when you have two different organisms, for example, again, let's take the example of the lion and the tiger. When you take their genus or their genome or their DNA, if it is similar, they belong to the same species. And however similar they are, shows how closely they are related to one another. For example, if we're talking about this is the genus and this is the species, where genus is capitalized and species is not. Dichotomous keys use visible features to classify organisms. What are visible features? Visible features, for example, has fur, has no fur, no feathers, has feathers, external fertilization, internal fertilization, no gills, adult. So you must have done these in grade school, right? Making keys, yes, no keys, right? So these are dichotomous keys. Why are they called dichotomous? They are two answers to each question, either yes or no. That's why it's called dichotomous. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now, features of organisms, you have five kingdoms: Monera, protists, fungi, plants, animals. Okay. So, five kingdoms. The first kingdom is animals. They are multicellular. Multicellular meaning they are made up of more than one cell, right? Multiple cells. Have ingestive heterotrophs. They eat living organisms, example cat, ladybird, newt, etc. Right? So they eat other organisms. Ingestive, eat, heterotrophs gain energy from that ingestion. Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now, plants are multicellular, photosynthetic, autotrophic. For example, if we're looking at this, let's say photosynthetic. So, photo means light, synthetic means to make. So, their light make, they make energy from light. Okay. Autotrophic means they do not need to eat anything, they make energy by themselves. And what do they use to make that energy? They use light. Okay. Organisms with a cellulose cell wall and chloroplast, examples cacti and oak tree. Now, fungi. Fungi are single celled, multicellular, heterotrophic. So, either they are single celled, meaning they are made up of only one cell, or they are multicellular, meaning they are made up of multiple cells. Heterotrophic means that they make their energy, they do not make their own energy. They need different sources of energy. And saprotrophic. Saprotrophic means they feed on dead material. Okay. With cell walls not made of cellulose, however, they are made of usually chitin. Spread by spreading spores. So therefore they are reproductive, but they spread through spores in moist, dark, warm environments. For example, yeast and mushrooms. Most of them have hyphae and mycelium in structure. Hyphae are structures which are as such, right? So they are protrusions that look like such. Okay. When we study fungi, we'll have a better look at these. Prokaryotes are single celled organisms with no true nucleus. They do not have a nucleus. and mitochondria. For example, we've got bacteria, right? Many also have plasmids. Plasmids are loops of DNA. For example, E. coli and Salmonella. These both are bacteria. Protist or protocyst, single celled again. So it's a single cellular organism with a nucleus. However, they have a nucleus. Eukaryotes, some are multicellular. Example, amoeba and seaweed. So some of them can be multicellular. They are eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are those cells which have a nucleus. Okay. Prokaryotes are cells which do not have a nucleus. So now we're talking about vertebrates under the kingdom of animals, right? So mammals have fur on the skin. They have external ears which have a pinna, internal fertilization, and mammary glands. So they produce milk. They have fur on their skin. They have external ears, and they have internal fertilization, right? Reptiles. They have thick, dry, scaly skin, which and usually four legs, internal fertilization, and soft shelled eggs. Make sense? Any questions up till now? Fish. Fish have wet scales, streamlined body shape, external fertilization, and soft eggs. Amphibians. They have smooth, moist skin, external fertilization, and soft eggs, gills, and lungs that can live on land and water. Most have four legs, right? Amphibians live in water and land. Okay. Any questions up till now?
No, sir.
No. So birds have feathers on their body, scales on their legs, constant internal body temperature, hard eggs, internal fertilization, and the birth is carried through eggs. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Arthropods, invertebrates with do not have a backbone, right? So arthropods have three standard features: exoskeleton, jointed legs, and segmented body. So this is usually talking about insects, right? Right? So types of arthropods: insects, arachnids, spiders, crustaceans, crabs and all, and myriapods. Okay. Number of legs 6, number of legs 8, number of legs more than 8, it's a crustacean. Number of legs more than 20 or sorry, less than 20 is a myriapod. Sorry, more than 20, right? Classification of plants. IGCSE biology: ferns and flowering plants, right? So ferns, they do not produce flowers or seeds. They are plants with roots, stems, and feathery leaves and reproduce by spores. Flowering plants are plants with roots, stems, and leaves. They reproduce sexually through flowers and seeds. Seeds are produced inside the ovary of the flower. So, monocotyledons, one cotyledon, one seed leaf, parallel veins, long narrow leaf. The number of petals is a multiple of 3. Scattered vascular bundles, one cotyledon, one seed leaf, parallel veins, long narrow leaf, two cotyledons, two seed leaf, branching veins, broad leaves. Number of petals is a multiple of 4 or 5. Ringed vascular bundles. Okay. This is something that you'll have to look up for MCQs. So when we'll see these questions tomorrow, we'll solve them. Okay. Viruses. Now, viruses are not part of any classification. They are considered non-living organisms, right? They have a DNA or an RNA which is encapsulated inside a protein core, right? So they're not considered living things. They do not carry out the 7 life processes, which I would like any one of you to tell me what they are. Can you tell me the acronym? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
What is the acronym for living things? What is the criteria for classifying a living organism? Right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me the full form of this? Can you give me the full form? Am I audible?
Yes.
Can you give me the full form for this acronym?
Which one?
Mrs. Grill, this acronym.
Movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition.
What was by E?
Excretion.
Excretion, yeah. Okay. So, when we're talking about viruses, they do not carry out these processes. Okay. So, instead, what they do is to survive, they take over a host cell, which means they use another cell and they do or they survive through that organism's indoor functions, right? So, let's say I don't do much, right? But instead, I move in with my brother and he takes care of me and he takes care of me, right? And he feeds me and he, buys me clothes. So I'm a bit of a parasite, am I not? Right? I'm just living there and I'm not benefiting the person who is hosting me, right? So that's basically what viruses do. So they take over a host cell and they take over its metabolic pathways in order to make multiple copies of themselves. The virus contains a genetic material which can be either RNA or DNA inside a protein coat, right? So what happens is you have this virus shell You have this virus shell, and within this virus shell, what you have is this coiled up DNA or RNA, right? So what this virus will do is it will attack a host cell, right? And it will inject its DNA into the host cell, and it will make more of itself. And it will continue to make more of itself and infect more cells of the host up until either the host dies or the viral infection subsides. Okay. It has no mitochondria and no ribosomes, right? Can you tell me what are the functions of mitochondria and ribosomes, or are they foreign to you? Have you never done them? What is the function of a mitochondria?
Uh, the mitochondria, I've heard somewhere that it's the powerhouse of the cell.
Yes. So basically, what it does is it makes energy for the cell. Yeah. Now, I believe you haven't heard of ribosomes, have you?
No.
No, right? So ribosomes are the protein making machines in the cell. Right? So the virus does not have any of these, right? It does not have any protein making machines, and it does not have any energy making machines, does it? So what it does is it infects a host cell which has both mitochondria and a ribosome, right? So now it can make proteins through the DNA that it has, right? It can make proteins that it wants through the host ribosomes, and it has the energy from the host through the host's mitochondria. Okay. So, do you want to continue further into the second chapter, whereby we will learn about cells? Or actually, let's just do it. Okay, let's do the second chapter, and then we can do both tomorrow as pacifist, right? So every living thing is made up of cells. Yes. So the basic unit of life is a cell. New cells are produced by the division of existing cells. This is called mitosis, right? Or in some cases, it can be called binary fission. We'll come to this when it makes sense. Okay. All typical eukaryotic cells in multicellular organisms have cell membrane. Cell membrane is the outer membrane of a cell, right, which controls the movement of substances in and out of the cell. So this acts as a barrier of stuff moving in and out. Yeah. Cytoplasm is the inner material of the cell, which houses all of the organelles, and it is the medium where the reactions happen, right? So you've got catabolic reactions, anabolic reactions, reactions where stuff is being made, and reactions where stuff is being broken down, right? That happens within the cytoplasm. The nucleus, the nucleus contains DNA stores and genetic information, and it controls the activity of the cell. So in some cases, not DNA, the nucleus is termed as the brain of the cell, right? So it controls the activity of the cell, it has genetic information, and it contains DNA, right? So what is this genetic information? It defines what you look like, what you will appear as. Okay, so that is your genetic information, and that is controlled by DNA, which is housed inside the nucleus. Mitochondria is the place where aerobic respiration happens, where energy is made. Not necessarily made, but it is taken from nutrition, and energy is formed from that nutrition into viable energy, basically. So, nutrition has, or glucose has, potential energy, but that potential energy can't be used directly, can it? So, mitochondria is where that energy is turned into potential, from potential energy into viable energy, which is usually called ATP. Okay. Ribosomes allow protein synthesis, so making proteins. Again, as I said, ribosomes are the protein making machines, right? Endoplasmic reticulum is studied with these ribosomes, and it looks rough under the microscope. So, what is the endoplasmic reticulum? Endoplasmic reticulum is, well, a series of tubes which are connected to the nucleus, and it's studded with ribosomes. So, DNA is used in order to make proteins through ribosomes on the tube, within the tubing of the endoplasmic reticulum. Okay. Are we fine till here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions up till now?
No, sir.
Okay. A typical animal cell, for example, the liver cell, has all of the above organelles or components. Yeah. A cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, mitochondria, ribosome, endoplasmic reticulum. Yeah. Plant cells also have vacuoles, cell wall, and chloroplast. So this contains cell sap. What is cell sap? Cell sap is a collection of fluid and starch which helps the cell keep shape, which is called turgid. Basically, turgid means flexed, or let's say, in a sense, full. Okay. Cell wall, it's rigid to hold the shape of the cell, and it strengthens the cell. So, what happens is you have a cell and you have the outer boundary, which keeps the cell from breaking. Okay. And chloroplast like mitochondria makes energy from food and glucose. Chloroplast make energy from light through photosynthesis. Okay. A typical plant cell, the palisade cell, has everything above. What is a palisade cell? A palisade cell is the cell found in leaves on the top portion. Okay. I'm giving you 5 minutes as a break, and then we'll continue. Okay, let's start. So, a typical plant cell has all of these properties, all of these components, all of these organelles. Okay. So, what are prokaryotes? Prokaryotes do not have a nucleus, a true nucleus, and they do not have mitochondria. Okay. I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. An example of prokaryotes is bacteria. Bacterial cell only contains a cell wall made up of peptidoglycan, a cell membrane made and cytoplasm, some ribosomes, and plasmids. Okay. So, what are plasmids? Plasmids are DNA loops. So, when you look at a bacterial cell, what you'll see is a cell with a round circle in between, some studded ribosomes, and this will probably resemble the um, right. So you'll have your cell wall, and you'll have the cell membrane, a plasmid, some scattered ribosomes, and one or more plasmids. Okay. Plasmids are small circular rings of DNA in the cytoplasm where extra genes outside the chromosomal DNA. So there is more DNA found inside the cell, which is just placed like such. And then there is the plasmid. Plasmids are very important for genetic engineering, for the creation of insulin, for the making of different hormones, right? So, what you do is this is a bit of a further concept. I'll try to deliver it now as much as I can. So, what happens is you take genes from healthy individuals that produce insulin or, some other form of hormone which is necessary for the body, and they take that gene and they place it within this plasmid, right? So let me say I spliced this gene into this plasmid, right? Can you see? So now what will happen is this gene, when this bacteria is cultured, will produce insulin in bulk, and that can be sent on to individuals, for example, people with diabetes who cannot produce insulin in adequate amounts. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have pili. Pili are these protrusions. They are usually used for sexual or reproduction of bacteria, and they are used for attachment to other bacteria. Plasmid, this is a plasmid, look, it's circular DNA. Then you have the nucleoid. It's not a true nucleus because it's not enveloped inside a nuclear envelope. So this is your nucleoid because this is the collection of DNA. You've got ribosomes, you've got a cell wall, you have a flagellum. The flagellum is used for movement. You have the cytoplasm, which is again the medium where all of the organelles are present. Also, it is the place where metabolic reactions happen, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then you have the outer capsule as well. Okay. So, how are organisms divided? So, first division is cells, which are the building blocks of life, as you've said. Then, when these cells, a group of cells, same cells, join together, they form a tissue and they have a shared function, which means they are the same cell, right? Organs are a group of tissues working together to form a specific function, right? So you've got different types of cells, muscle cells, right? Um, Cartilage cells, cells that produce energy, mainly energy, right? And they all work together in order to perform one function. That is when you have an organ, right? Organ systems are a group of organs which have related functions to work together and perform the bodily functions. Organism, when all of these organ systems work together, you have an organism. Okay? Make sense? So,
Yes, sir.
specialized cells, some cells have specific functions and they are specified by their structure, by their organelles, by their function, right? So, ciliated cells are cells that have a brush border, right? So, they have cilia. This brush can move, it can pulsate. So, they are found in the respiratory tract, in fallopian tubes, in testes, and they allow for the movement of mucus in the trachea and the bronchi, right? Root hair cells allow for absorption and are found in roots. They have protrusions as such, right, which help increase surface area and increase absorption. Palisade mesophyll cells perform photosynthesis and are present in leaf cells. They have tons of chloroplasts and a wide shape in order to capture more light. Neurons conduction of electrical impulses. So these are your nerve cells and they are found entire body of the organism and they are used in order to convey stimulus and carry out an appropriate response. Okay. Then you have RBCs. RBCs transport oxygen throughout the organism and they are found within blood vessels all over the organism. The sperm, egg, which is also called the ovum, is used for reproduction and are present in their respective gonads. Gonads are sexual organs. Magnification. Okay, this is where we stop today. I think we've done enough for today. Or do
Uh,
you want to continue? Sorry.
could you take like a screenshot of the pages we did today and send it in the WhatsApp group?
I sent the book. Do you want notes? Because I haven't made many.
Useful.
Sorry.
That would be really useful.
I sent the book on the group.
Okay, wait, let me check if I have it.
I think you joined after.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
send them again.
Thank you.
No issues. Any questions about today?
No, sir.
Okay. I've sent them again. Okay. Should we end it here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Office.
Love